The Hodgeheg Chapter 3. By now it was quite late. The rush hour was over, the shops were shut. All was quiet. I'll wait, thought Max, and then, when a lorry or car comes along, I'll cross in front of it. Soon he saw something coming. It was a lorry. He was halfway across when he suddenly realised that the lorry hadn't slowed up at all and was almost on top of him, blinding him with its brilliant lights, deafening him with its thunderous roar. It was not going to stop. Lorries only stopped for people, not hedgehogs. The lorry driver, who, until he was almost upon the crossing, had been quite unaware of the tiny pedestrian, did the only possible thing. With no time to brake or swerve, he steered so as to straddle the little animal. Looking back in his wing mirror, he saw that it was continuing on its way unhurt, and he grinned and drove into the night. The sheer horror of this great monster passing above with its huge wheels on either side of him threw Max into a blind panic, and he made for the end of the crossing as fast as his legs would carry him. He did not see the cyclist silently pedalling along close to the curb, and the cyclist did not see him until the last moment. Feverishly, the man twisted his handlebars, and the front wheel of the bicycle suddenly wrenched round, caught Max on the rump, and catapulted him headfirst into the face of the curbstone. The next thing that Max recalled was crawling painfully under his own front gate. Somehow he had managed to come back over the zebra crossing. He had known nothing of the concern of the cyclist, who had dismounted, peered at what looked like a small dead hedgehog, sighed, and pedalled sadly away. He remembered nothing of his journey home, wobbling dazedly along on the now deserted pavement, guided only by his sense of smell. All he knew was that he had an awful headache. The family had crowded round him on his return, all talking at once. "Where have you been all this time?" asked Ma. "Are you all right, son?" asked Pa. "Did you cross the road?" they both asked. And Peony, Pansy and Petunia echoed, "Did you? Did you? Did you?" For a while Max did not reply. His thoughts were muddled, and when he did speak, his words were muddled too. "I got a head on the bump," he said. The family looked at one another. "Something bopped me on the hit'em," said Max, "and I headed my bang. My ache bad's headly." "But did you cross the road?" cried his sisters. "Yes," said Max wearily. "I hound where the Fumans cross over, but—" "But the traffic only stops if you're a human," interrupted Pa. "Yes," said Max. "Not if you're a hodgeheg." Oh no, poor Max. He's not making any sense at all, is he? Chapter 4. Let's hope he'll be all right. "Do you suppose he'll be okay?" asked Ma anxiously. It was dawn, and they were about to retire for the day. The children were already asleep in a thick bed of fallen leaves. "I hope so," said Pa. "Hodgehegs indeed, his brains are scrambled." Max slept around the clock, and halfway round again. He did not stir until the evening of the following day. The shock sent him into a kind of short early hibernation. When at last he woke, his sisters rushed to nuzzle at his nose, the safest nuzzling place for hedgehogs. With squeaks of concern, and his parents left their snail hunting and came trotting up. "How are you feeling, dear?" said Ma. Max considered this. His headache was almost gone, and he was thinking straight, but his speech, he found, would not behave properly. "I'm a bet bitter, thanks," he said. "You had a nasty shock," said Pa. "You need to rest," said Ma. "Why not go back to bed? We'll bring you some nice slugs." "I don't want to bed in to get," said Max. "I feel quite wake-a-wide. In fact, I feel like walking for a go." Pa took a moment to work this one out. Then he said firmly, "You're not going anywhere, son. Do you hear me? You stay home in the garden for a while. Get your strength back. Understand?" "Yes, Pa," said Max. "I'll say what you do." And he did do what Pa had said, for a week or more. Peony, Pansy and Petunia fussed over their brother. They brought him the fattest, slimiest slugs they could find and encouraged him to play their favourite game, hide and seek. However, this didn't work. When they hid, Max forgot to go and look for them, and when it was his turn, he forgot to go and hide. So busy was he thinking about the busyness of road crossings. The girls would count to 30 with their eyes shut, but when they opened them, Max would just still be sitting there. Striped bits were no good. He didn't intend trying that again. But maybe, he thought, maybe there were other ways. His determination to find out was increased when Pa came back early one morning from a visit to the park with more bad news. Max overheard him telling Ma. "Another one gone," Pa said. "Not a relation?" said Ma fearfully. "No," said Pa. "Chap from number 9A just down the road. I didn't know him well, you understand, but he always seemed a decent sort of hog. He was just crossing in front of me not 10 minutes ago. Misjudged it. Motorbike got him." That evening, Max waited until he was sure that Pa was out of the way in the garden of number 5B. The people in 5A always put out bread and milk for Max's family, but the people in 5B provided something much better for their hedgehogs: tinned dog food. Every evening Pa crept through the dividing hedge to see if he could nick a saucerful of munchy meat before his neighbour woke from the day's sleep. "Ma," said Max, "I'm walking for a go." Ma was quick at translating by now. "Did Pa say you could go?" she said. "No," said Max, "but he couldn't say I didn't." And before Ma could do anything, he trotted off along the garden path. "Oh, Max," called Ma, "are you sure you'll be all right?" "Yes, of course," said Max. "I'll be quite K.O." Once outside the garden gate, he turned left and set off up the road, in the opposite direction to his previous effort. By now he was used to the noise and the brightness, and confident that he was safe from traffic, as long as he did not step into the road. When a human passed, he stood still. The creatures did not notice you, he found, if you didn't move. He trotted on past the garden of number 9A until the row of houses ended and a high factory wall began, so high that he would not have been able to read the notice on it beside the factory that said, "Max speed 5 miles per hour," it said. Max kept going, a bit more slowly than this, and suddenly, once again, he saw, not far ahead, what he was seeking. Again, there were people crossing the street. This time they didn't go in ones or twos, but waited all together, and then, at some signal he supposed, crossed at the same time. Max drew nearer until he could hear, at intervals, a high, rapid beep, beep, beep noise, at the sound of which the traffic stopped, and the people walked over it safely. Creeping closer still, tight up against the wall, he finally reached the crossing place, and now he could see this new magic method. The bunch of humans stood and watched. Just above their heads, a picture of a little red man, standing quite still. The people stood quite still too. Then suddenly the little red man disappeared, and underneath him was a picture of a little green man, swinging and walking and swinging his arms. The people walked, swinging their arms, while the high, rapid beep, beep, beep noise warned the traffic not to move. Max sat and watched for a long time, fascinated by the red man and the green man. He rather wished they could have a red hedgehog and a green hedgehog, but that wasn't really important, as long as hedgehogs could cross here safely. That was all he had to prove. The sooner, the better. He edged forward until he was just behind the waiting humans and watched tensely for the little green man to walk. Oh gosh, I hope he's okay this time, if he decides to go for it. Join me tomorrow for Chapter 5 and Chapter 6. I really hope you're enjoying the story. See you soon. Bye.